Up next, we have the Scrapped Watchman. Now, this boss is probably going to be the first one that I actually add a little bit of extra detail to his moves. While learning how he fights and learning his patterns, I was able to pick up on some seconds in which are in between his attacks. So I'm hoping that'll be helpful and that'll be good for you to know so you can implement that into your fight and kill this boss quickly. So let's get into him. I did mention earlier that all puppets in the game are very weak to electricity. But I think the Scrap Watchman is probably the only one that is kind of a contradiction because he is surrounded by electricity in his second phase. He utilizes electric moves and electric abilities, so I was a bit unsure on what he would be weak to in his second phase. There's a high chance that he is still weak to electricity even though he uses electric attacks, but if you want you can use fire, I believe, and it should be okay. It just does some extra damage anyway, so you'll be alright. So the first move that we are looking at is this combo right here. The minute you see him spin his right arm like this and then slam it onto the floor, he is going into a combo. This combo consists of his right arm slamming first, then his left arm doing the same motion of the spin and then the slam, and then into a red attack where he spins both arms into the air and then slams his entire body on the floor. Now, I'm not sure how perfectly accurate this is and you can test it out for yourself, but from the very moment he slams his right arm onto the floor, count about 5 seconds from each attack after that slam and you should be able to perfect parry the move. So after the first right arm slams into the floor, there are 5 seconds between that move and his left arm slamming into the floor, which gives you about 5 seconds grace to prepare for a perfect parry. That's the same with the red attack. If you choose to parry the red attack onto the floor, it's around about 5 seconds between each hit. If you choose to dodge this boss's attacks, the same principle applies. It is still 5 seconds for you to wait until you can perfect dodge the move. Like I said previously in the earlier boss fight, if you do not perfect dodge the move, you will be hit. So you can wait 5 seconds to be able to dodge the first 2 spin attacks into the slam onto the floor. As for the following red attack, there are 2 things you can do. You can either dodge 3 times backwards or you can just run. Right here I can show you the 2 instances where I dodged 3 times backwards and I also ran and they were both effective. Let's get a bit deeper, and note to self, this specific thing that I'm about to tell you applies to every single boss. I'm gonna pause the video at exactly the right moment in which I believe you should press the left bumper, or if you're on a PlayStation controller, it's L1 to perfect parry a move. I'm afraid I don't know what the keybind is for mouse and keyboard, so I do apologize. So right here is the perfect time to press your corresponding button in order to be able to perfect parry the move. Now every boss has a specific tempo or specific speed in which they attack, so it's just about getting used to them. But around this area right here is where the boss's weapon or arm is close enough for you to be able to parry for it to be considered or counted as a perfect parry. His next combo is a flurry attack. If you are perfect parrying, he will do this 4 times starting with his right arm. He will hit you with a flurry move 4 times before then swinging his right arm around and then slamming it onto the floor. However, if you are dodging, he only does it twice before the swing of the right arm and then slamming onto the floor. Huge difference between dodging and parrying, but here we are. So when it comes to this specific flurry move, I have counted 2 seconds between each hit. This means after the first attack, count 2 seconds and you should be able to perfect parry perfectly. It might take a little bit of getting used to, but I've counted roughly about 2 seconds. Do not forget to take advantage of every single time he attacks to hit him back. Because you've got 5 seconds between one combo and 2 seconds between the other, you should be able to dodge the attacks and then attack him, therefore punishing his moves and then doing damage to him. That's about it for his phase 1 combo moves, but there are a couple other moves that I still want to talk about that he does in phase 1. The first one is when he stretches his left arm really far back and then he lunges forward to swing at you. This move is very devastating, does a lot of damage, and if not timed correctly or parried correctly, is really bad. In all honesty, anytime he does this move, I don't bother parrying him. I just dodge every single time. The best way that I can explain on how to dodge this specific move is not to watch the arm, but watch his feet. If you watch watch his feet, you will notice that he kind of edges forward a little bit, and the minute he finishes that, press the dodge button, because that specific move is very, very fast and it will come at you super quickly, which is why I believe his best indication that he's about to attack is his feet. If you watch his feet, he will move a little forward, I think like a little 2-step forward, and then he swipes. Now he does do this exact same move with his right arm, but the differences are with the right arm, he doesn't do the 2-step forward, and the attack itself is much faster than the left arm. The right arm is more of a fast attack, but it still does a bit of damage, so I just dodge it normally anyway. The other move he does is a swipe with his left arm, and he swipes it from right to left, but you don't have to worry about this move. He is just creating space between you and him. That's all it is. Now, if you've been parrying him, I counted 7 parries until the white outline shows around his health bar. Again, I'm not 100% certain how many times this is. It might be different with your playthrough, with your boss fight, so it could be 8, it could be 6, but I counted about 7 until the white outline showed on his health bar. I was attacking him in between the parry, so that may have helped as well, but around about 7 should be the golden number for you to get the white outline around his health bar. If you are dodging him, he does take a lot longer to show the white outline around his health bar. For me specifically, he didn't show it until phase 2, but that's okay because you're dodging him constantly and you're punishing his moves and doing damage to him accordingly. So at the end of the day, you're still gonna get his health down. The white outline around his health bar at this point is just for extra damage, which is always good. Either way though, you are sure to get the white outline around his health bar, and once you do so, do not be afraid to put in a second charge attack before you go for the repost animation. Let's take a quick look at second phase. Now in second phase, he doesn't have much more going on than the few things that I'm about to mention. In terms of moves, he has the same moves as first phase. The only difference now is all his moves are laced with electricity. Every single time he slams his arm on the floor in second phase, it creates a pool of electricity in which if you do not come out of it in time, will do some damage to you. Now he does have, I think, 2 moves that he's added onto second phase, and we'll talk about them right now. The first move is a red attack, so he jumps into the air and lands directly on the floor where he jumped, and this creates an AoE of electricity that also has a second pulse charge. So if you are in the area, you will be hit by the red attack as well as the pulse charge of electricity on the floor. So I would suggest leaving that AoE until the animation is done. The second attack is another jump attack, but this time he spins as he falls. Once he lands onto the floor, pools of electricity are spread around them in an area of effect, and each having their own electrical surge. If you are caught in any of these, you will be hit. So I suggest again dodging out of the situation until the animation is complete. This grab attack is one that I forgot to mention he has on both phase 1 and phase 2, but in all honesty, ever since the first time I ever witnessed the grab attack in my first ever playthrough, he has never ever touched me with it again. It's just that easy to dodge. I don't even bother talking about it or saying what it does. I've completely forgotten the animation of what the grab looks like, so don't you worry about it. And that is basically it for the scrapped Watchman. Once you understand his moves and you see his patterns and you know how to deal with them, as I have explained in this video, in terms of both parrying him and dodging him, the rest is just practice and practice with a little sprinkle of rinse and repeat until he's dead.